Welcome back to PropTech Power Talks. I'm Zeenish, and today I'm joined by Charlotte Langthaler. Charlotte is the Global Director of Real Estate Program and Project Management at CBRE Global Workspace Solutions. Charlotte, it's amazing to have you with us today. Welcome.
Yeah, sure. I'm Charlotte Langthaler. I'm working at the intersection between real estate, technologies, and business outcome. Actually, I started my career as an architect. Then I moved to project management, which eventually led me into the world of cybersecurity and smart building. Today, I work with clients to shape and lead complex innovative program. And what drives me is turning complexity into clarity, whether that means aligning global stakeholders, translating strategy into action, or building programs that actually deliver measurable results. So for example, I was working with Google to kick off their cybersecurity program for buildings. So I helped them build the process for auditing existing buildings, spotting risks across their portfolio and fixing them. And this was about 7 years ago. Back then, the whole cybersecurity topic was still really new for the industry, but also for Google. It was quite the adventure, but really a chance for me to be part of this journey. And more recently, I was leading the development of their global smart building strategy, which we will talk then in this interview. So to answer your question, about like use cases and priorities. Actually, before we jump into that, I think there is something people often miss, which is the need for a clear strategy. It's so easy to get excited by what technologies can do in real estate, building which use occupancy data and weather data to adjust automatically the lighting, the temperature, and the ventilation. But too often, companies jump straight to, what the technology should we buy? Without stepping back and asking themselves, why are we doing that? And how will it all work together? So for a global organization like Google, we needed a global strategy which could serve, a bit as a North Star, aligning all regions, guiding all stakeholders, and creating a feedback loop to continuously improve over time. And a smart building strategy is not just a one-time document. What we call smart today will be just business as usual tomorrow, right? So the strategy must evolve. And when I was leading the development of Google smart building strategy, so we didn't start with looking at the technologies, but the people. So we mapped out, there were like 12 key stakeholder groups, from facility management, IT, but also sustainability, security, workplace experience, and of course the end users. So we engage, I think it was more than 100 people globally. We organized workshops and questionnaires, and they all had different expertise and different seniority, but we found common goals like efficiency, sustainability, employees' experience, and security. And from all this conversation, we generated hundreds of use cases. And to prioritize them, we looked at the tangible and intangible benefit, the feasibility, and the alignment with company goals. And this led us to a short list of 10 high impact use cases, which the company is now focusing on to solve. And the next step is to build a process which allows us to revisit, refine, and add new use cases, because technologies are evolving and new needs will emerge. We don't know what we don't know. So the key is to stay flexible and to keep learning. And regarding your question on stakeholder alignment, it came down to early and transparent engagement. We invited people into the process very early. We made sure they felt heard, and we also kept really clear communication. So when it was time to implement changes, they understood the why, and that actually made all the difference. So at the end of the day, successful strategy connects the technologies with business goals, and then it turns these goals into meaningful outcomes that people can experience and appreciate. And this is how we make building truly smart.
That's such a great breakdown of how strategy meets execution. One thing that really stands out about your work is the focus on sustainability, something that's more critical now than ever. You mentioned sustainability as a big part of your smart building strategy, and it is definitely a hot topic right now. Since you led a pilot project in London with some solid sustainability results, can you share some innovative ways companies can embed sustainability into their smart building plans, and what are some good ways to actually measure if those efforts are working?
Sure. Well, yeah, sustainability is absolutely the heart of any smart building strategy. But to make real impact, it can't just be like a side project or, like a checkbox. It has to be part of how buildings are operated and maintained. And this means embedding sustainability goals directly into the technology roadmap, the operational workflow, and the decisions people make on the ground. One of the most exciting innovations we implemented in this pilot project in London was using smart technologies not just to monitor the energy use, but to actively optimize in real time. And so we deployed FDD, like fault detection and diagnostic system. It is like giving the building smart glasses to spot inefficiencies as they happen. So, and for example, the system showed us that the HVAC system was running at full blast over the weekend, even though the building was mostly empty. And with this insight, the facility management team could immediately adjust the operation, cutting energy waste, saving costs and the carbon emission. And in just 6 months, we could save more than 250,000 euros, and we could reduce the CO2 emissions by 200 tons. And 200 tons is the equivalent of 10,000 trees absorbing carbon for a whole year. But beyond technologies, the real key is what you do with the data. Because collecting the information is not enough. You need the data in the right format. You need to leverage AI to spot the patterns. And most importantly, companies need to take swift and smart action. Because using technology is only half of the story. Also, like companies also need to prove it is making a difference, and this starts with having a solid baseline. So before making the building smart, I would advise companies to gather key data, like the energy use, the operational performance, the user experience, so that there is a clear point of comparison. And then you can track results like what are the cost savings. So once the building is, you have already technologies in the building and the building is smart, you can identify the cost saving, the carbon reduction, the operational improvements, and even employee satisfaction. And these results tell a story that will resonate really well with the leadership and the investors. And it will help ensure the buy-in and the investments. So, because at the end of the day, embedding sustainability is not about, just one-off feature or dashboard. It's about making it really part of how the building works, how decisions are made, and how people operate. And I think that's how sustainability become really part of the overall smart building DNA.
Those are some very actionable insights. Of course, sustainability and strategy need to scale, and that brings me to the next challenge: executing across multiple regions. Rolling out a global smart building strategy across different regions sounds really challenging. How do you keep things consistent while still giving each region the flexibility they need? And what kind of leadership style works best when you are managing such a complex global team?
Because the strategy comes alive when we can translate the global approach to the execution and delivery. But as you say, like, this is where the biggest challenge is, where we need to balance the consistency and also with the flexibility. And to make that works, I think companies need a strong foundation. So like a shared vision, a clear global governance to guide the decision making, and the right tools which can help teams stay aligned, track progress, communicate across regions. But having this foundation is not enough. It's just like half of the story. The other half is adapting to the local realities. And if you take EMEA, for example, there are more than 100 countries. There are dozens of languages and a patchwork of regulations. So it is essential to have a local adaptation here. And there are also vendors which work perfectly in one region, but might not operate in another. Or like the maturity of the technologies might vary from one country to another. So the approach of like one size fits all simply doesn't work. And what company needs to do instead is like a clear global framework, which can act like a roadmap, but then with enough flexibility for regional teams to customize it to their local context. And maybe this means adjusting timelines or slightly changing how processes are rolled out on the ground, or bringing in local experts who truly understand their market. And when it comes to leadership, I think the secret sauce is ownership. Giving regional teams the power to tailor and drive the strategy themselves creates re-engagement and deliver better results. And depending on the project size, that could mean appointing regional champions or dedicating resources to lead locally. So my advice is to let the local team lead, but make sure they stay connected to the global vision, and keep everyone aligned with clear governance and open reporting. And I think this is how companies can successfully implement a global strategy, but across borders and culture.
It's so interesting to hear how leadership style plays a role in driving innovation. But even with the right mindset and framework, implementation always comes with its own set of hurdles, especially at a global scale. What are the most common challenges global organizations face when implementing smart building technologies, and what are some proven strategies for overcoming them and driving adoption at scale?
One of the biggest challenge I have seen is the transition between construction into operation. And this handover phase is very critical. And often this is where things start to fall apart, information get lost, the operation team is not fully briefed, and suddenly the building, which is supposed to be, is smart on paper, is not really smart in practice. The people are really at the heart of this challenge. So it is not just about installing the latest technology. It is about making sure the teams on the ground understand how to use the technology, how to maintain them, how to use the data, and essentially adapt their day-to-day practice. And we need to acknowledge that the facility management team have been operating the buildings a certain way for many, many years. And now we are asking them to navigate through new technologies, complex systems, and a huge amount of data. So for them, this change to smart building is a major shift, which can feel quite overwhelming. But the good news is that with smart buildings, automation, machine learning, and AI will take some of the repetitive work from facility management. So over time, these technologies will reduce the number of manual tasks and the number of sources, but only if people know how to use them effectively. And this is why it is important to build these elements into the strategy from day one, to make sure that there is clear guidance on how the technology should be used, that roles and responsibilities are clearly defined, who does what, step-by-step processes for operations and maintenance, and most importantly, proper trainings to help the teams build confidence and keep the building smart over time. At the end of the day, the biggest challenge is not the technologies. I think we are there. It is more like getting people to use it in the right way. And that is why the real strategy is about giving them the right tool, the clarity, and the support they need. And that is how you get smart buildings to really work at scale and in the long term.
Yeah, it's clear that implementation is just as important as vision. So now let's look ahead a bit. You're a recognized thought leader and keynote speaker, engaging international audiences on smart building strategies. What are some of the key emerging trends you see shaping the future of smart buildings, and what advice would you have for professionals looking to stay ahead in this dynamic field?
Yeah, the future of smart building is very exciting, and what we are seeing right now is just the beginning. Actually, the rise of technologies in building is not just shaping buildings. Actually, they are shaping how we live, how we work, how we interact with the spaces around us. But I would say that one of the biggest shifts is the rise of real-time data. And when organizations can see exactly what is happening in their buildings as it happens, like energy use, occupancy, air quality, it changes completely how decisions are made. And you go from being reactive to being proactive. And this is really a game changer for sustainability, for cost saving, efficiency, the performance of the building. And for that, AI and machine learning are becoming the real players in the operation of the building. And as I mentioned earlier, like these tools and technologies can detect fault before anyone notices them. They can also optimize the system, and they can even learn over time. But what is exciting me the most is the focus on the people. And what I like to see is to use technologies not only for the efficiency of the building, but to improve the human experience within the buildings. And I think this is what ties me back to my background as an architect. But smart buildings are not just about systems and data, they are about the experience. We are talking about better quality, smart lighting, high quality environments, which can all better support the well-being and the productivity of the people. And in a competitive market, this becomes a huge asset for attracting and retaining talents. And you ask me, what is my advice to professionals? I would say, stay curious, stay adaptable, and welcome the future. Because there is a lot of hype around tools, data, AI, and yes, some roles will evolve, some will no longer be required, but technologies still need us. We still need people to make sense of it all, to ask the right question, to align it with business goals and to drive all the changes. So my advice would be learn about both the business and the technologies. Do not wait for perfect conditions, like start small, measure the impact, and then scale what is working, and always look for improvement.
Love those insights. And you're right, staying ahead is about being a part of the conversation. So lastly, I would like to hear from you about the significance of events like the London PropTech Show.
Yeah, well, events like the London PropTech Show are very important. I think they create a good space for connecting people together, sharing knowledge, and really have the forward thinking. Because for me, most of the time I network virtually, but I really like these events because they give me the opportunity to meet in person. So it is an opportunity to share ideas, to challenge the status quo, and to meet new people. And I would say as well, it allows also to discuss topics more privately that I might not be able to say on stage or during interviews like this. But the smart building space is constantly evolving, and being part of conversations in these events help all of us stay at the forefront of innovation. And I think we are just seeing the tip of the iceberg. We are just scratching the surface of what is possible with smart buildings. But as an industry, we need to continue pushing boundaries, collaborating across sectors, and finding new ways to harness technologies. And all of this will help actually make space smarter, more sustainable, and more focusing on the people.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, I agree with you. So Charlotte, thank you again for sharing your knowledge and perspective with us today. And it's been a pleasure hearing your approach on global strategy, innovation, and the future of smart buildings. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning into PropTech Power Talks. See you next time.